Hello there, and welcome back to the SWTVC podcast, the audio home of the SWTVC crew and the ongoing push for the continued existence, expansion, and success of the heritage scale of Star Wars collecting. I'm Evan, or as you may know me on Instagram, Mile High Ground, and I am joined as always by the mustache and figure expert himself, John Lindquist, or as you might know him, the Vintage Concepts. Although I do hope people at this point know that your name is John. I would be concerned.
I hope so. You'd think.
Yeah.
After all this.
Yeah. Then again, I've talked to so many people in this community, but also in my own real life that don't even really know my name. And I've worked with them for like a year. So
yeah, I know most Jabba's Palace background characters' names more than I know coworkers that I only see like once every couple of weeks. You know, hey, that guy.
Yeah.
If your name was Salt Mirai, I would remember you forever. But
yeah, I'm just going to start referring to someone I work with as Window Weekway. That's just for me, you know.
Perfect.
All right. Well, hey, before we jump totally into it, there's a little thing that's kind of making waves in our TVC community. A big, exciting 3 3/4 inch item. It's the HasLab. We've talked about it before, but in uncertain terms, cat's out of the bag now. We all know what it is. It was obviously the Ewok Village, and we are super stoked about that. Oh, nope, sorry. It's not the Ewok Village because of reasons we've outlined over and over and over and over again. It's actually the Ghost from Rebels and the upcoming live action series Ahsoka.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So not only that, it was $100 cheaper than what we kind of thought it was going in. The tier is the crews. We'll talk, or some of the crew will talk about it more. The minimum backer threshold was 8,000 backers, which on the day of recording this was hit this morning. In fact, to be specific, at the exact time of this recording, we're at 8,340 backers. So
wow.
Onward to 11,000, where we will unlock the first tier, and we will talk about what that is here in a sec. But before we get too deep into that, John, mail call.
We got some mail call. We got some mail coming. Chrysanthemum is already shipping the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive version. If you were able to get a code during the convention from a lovely pal in the community who was able to help you out, perhaps. Or if you were there, maybe. And he was also physically on shelf at their little pop-up display a few blocks from the convention.
Yeah, huge shout out to the Droid Guy and Victoria's Cantina for helping me out.
And me as well, yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. We owe you a life debt, which, life debt's life day. We'll talk about that in a minute, too. But not only that, Target Bobas are starting to slowly trickle out to market. You know, those 2 comic book inspired ones that we saw announced and many people pre-ordered way back in the before time, aka December 2022.
Yes. And at the very tail of the last episode, we talked about them starting to hit stores, and both are popping up on Pop Finder. But what does that even mean anymore? I have a lot near me that are showing 8, which means they're probably in the back or they're on the way. 10, I guess, means they're on the way. So a good trick is once they start going below that threshold, that means they're selling or they're shipping them or employees are stealing them out of the back or whatever. So that's a good time to go check it out. I went to one store today that showed 4 in stock of the 90s, the green and blue and yellow one. From Death, Lies, and Treachery, but there were none in the store's actual systems. And that one shows back-ordered online with a shipping date of like tomorrow.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. 100% not going to happen. And the 80s one is still undated. And it's confusing. There's two figures based on similar stuff with similar names, and one will show in stock on Pop Finder, and then it'll go out of stock, but it'll be on the website. I don't know if this means they're fulfilling. The stores got them, then they're fulfilling them by shipping them out, as we mentioned last time. But I don't know. Some of us are getting lucky and finding our bounty in store, including you. Give us the tale here.
Yeah, well, you said you only went to one Target. You have options. Yeah. My town only has one Target, so if it doesn't get the stuff, we don't get it.
Wow.
I actually went and tried my luck. I went last night and asked, and they looked and they said they couldn't find them, but they told me to come back today, which of course is what they likely tell you so that they don't have to deal with it at the time. I did then go today after work and just tried my luck and chatted up the kind associate. And we talked a little bit about Magic the Gathering. That's his thing. And he was like, oh, yeah, we can, you understand some of the Hasbro frustrations when it comes to certain things. He was like, yeah. Anyway, I had him look it up and he couldn't really find it. And then he was like, well, maybe I'll have my supervisor look for it. And she went and looked for it, found the case, and it was of the 90s version. It was hidden. And then she couldn't find the other one that also Pop Finder was showing was in stock. She grabbed me a couple, but then long story short, they decided they could only send me one because these things are so ancient. The barcode is not working in Target's system. Wow. And then you can only find it by the DPCI, DCPI, whatever, that number. It's a whole thing. Anyway, they didn't want to get in trouble, but they did still they both agreed to sell me one, and that was great. And I totally was grateful for that and for the trouble and the time, because I showed them when they went up for pre-order, and these people were mystified. They were like, what? That was what? What? Why are we just now getting it? They were so confused. I gave them a little bit of rundown, and not in like a whole, I'm clearly boring these people way like I'm boring you right now, listeners. Yeah, they were very curious. Anyway, we exchanged phone numbers. They've been texting me as they've been looking for them tonight. So we'll see how that goes. But they did sell me one. And for the fact that they were just so blown away by me waiting 8 months or so for this, with still nothing in the foreseeable future on the Target app, they sold it to me for 50% off. So you know what?
Amazing.
I'll take the win. I can get another one. And all in all, I will have spent, $14.99 on these if you do the average. So that's good. That's good.
Amazing. It's always nice when a store agrees to sell you a product in the store. That's always a nice change of pace.
Yeah. No barcode, no DPCI, no deal.
Wow.
But there was a deal today. So anyway, that's my dumb little story. It was great. Thank you, Target crew. I won't shout out your name so you don't get fired. But it was a good time. So
for selling,
I got one Boba Fett.
Won't get fired for, again, selling a product from their back room to a paying customer.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What a crazy world this is, folks. But
yep. Speaking of crazy worlds.
Wow.
San Diego Comic-Con. There's no segue there. That's literally just me.
It is a crazy world when you go there, I guess. I haven't been there in about 9 years, but
I was going to say last time I went was 2013. So
nice. But it was a crazy world then. It's a crazy world now.
Yeah.
So you run a live stream this past weekend with Tyler and Lewis from our team, as well as Tim from Bosk's Bounty. I was busy. I did not hear it, so I will be saying the exact same stuff here. I'm sure you guys did great. You guys went over the reveals. You talked a lot about the Ghost. Go listen to that if you haven't already. Just pause this, throw it in the trash. Go listen to that instead. But since then, we've gotten a lot of good info about these reveals. Through various Q&A sessions held by great outlets and friend of ours, including John Miko and Augustine from the Star Wars The Vintage Collection Facebook group, Victoria's Cantina, the Imperial Communique, Yoda's News, Galactic Figures, and the Yes Have Some podcast by the Toy Anxiety team, as well as your Q&A with Chris Reif of the Star Wars brand team. So there's some stuff in there worth chatting about. There's some good info in there. Everybody kind of had the same questions, but, it's good to show that we're all kind of on the same page on some of these things sometimes.
It's kind of fun because as I was going through some of the answers that Chris and Patrick and Jing were giving, while there's some answers that were like pretty much the same to the same questions, sometimes they would kind of deviate a little, and there would be a slight little nugget tacked on to kind of provide just a little bit more clarity of what we can expect. So
nice. So there were a lot of reveals there. There was also one reveal right before the convention, which I guess you guys didn't talk about on the stream, but
completely forgot. As soon as I hit end broadcast, I think it was Tyler or Lewis. They're just like, you forgot to mention Jabba. And I was like, well, yes, just me forgot to do it. I asked you guys multiple times if there's anything else you wanted to talk about, but no. So.
Well, we all got to say Boshuda to a new Pulse exclusive Jabba the Hutt set. And Jabba, of course, is the 2015 3.75-inch Black Series sculpt, again, that debuted in the Rancor Pit set, Toys R Us exclusive. Last release in the HasLab Sail Barge. But this time he appears to have better eyes, hopefully. I think I mentioned before the old one looked like it's just like 3 black lines, look like they drew it on with a Sharpie. But in the movie, it's very detailed, very interesting, and they got it a little bit closer on this one, hopefully. He comes with the dais, which is a repaint of the one included in the Boba Fett's throne room set to better match the colors of Return of the Jedi. But that means you can roll out the Boba Fett one, the Bib Fortuna one that's included in the playset that's about to ship in about a month. Roll in Jabba, convert it to Jabba's throne room from Return of the Jedi, should you choose to do so. And I think many collectors will choose to do so.
Yeah, there's actual figures to support that, so.
Yes, shocking. And the last time they did a Jabba with his dais was 2010 in that Shadows of the Dark Side set, kind of around the time of Vintage Collection's debut. It had Jabba, Salacious Crumb, and Ula. The last time that an Ula figure was made, perhaps the last time ever. We don't know. But that was a nice set, but this is, it's pretty hard to get on the secondary market, right? Did you ever get one?
I did last summer,
right.
And I did have to pay a little bit for it.
Okay.
So usually, though, whenever I pay a lot of money for a figure, it then immediately gets announced to come back out. This one, probably not. So, however, we did just learn from the Facebook group's Q&A that Hutt Slayer Leia is not off the table. So
interesting. You should have paid more for this set. That would have expedited the process of getting this.
I should have. I think the threshold for me paying for a figure is I have to pay more than like 150, 160.
Yeah.
So, and then as soon as I do that, Hasbro's just like, this guy, he did it. Took one for the team. Enjoy, everybody.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So he also includes a newly sculpted railing. The 2010 set also had a railing, but this is a newly sculpted version, I guess. The hookah, the bowl with a little Klatooinian patty frog in it. 8 soft goods pillows, which is interesting. 3 cups, 1 plate, partridge in a pear tree, and not one, but count them 2 carded figures in the set, if you count one of them as a figure, I guess. The first full-size figure is 8D8, who is a March Madness figure to check off, not the last today, a Finish the 96 figure, and a figure that can pull double duty for the Return of the Jedi or Boba Fett's Book of Boba Fett's throne room displays, which is kind of awesome to see, but the big downside, the articulation.
Yeah. Chris described that it has 8 points of articulation, all of which are hinges aside from the head. He has ankles, but doesn't have elbows or knees, even though he famously pulls a lever to torture a droid in the movie. So,
yeah,
kind of a bummer. But
yeah, the similarly designed BG J38 background from Jedi, number 38. Droid from the Legacy Collection was a Build-A-Droid. It's kind of a wet noodle. He has the exact same leg design as 88. But hopefully this 88 will at least be able to support his own weight. I kind of think of like the super articulated ATST versus the stock straight limited articulation Rebels ATDP, which that one will never fall over even if there's a nuclear war. Whereas the ATST will fall over no matter how many times you tighten the screws if you just breathe on it. So yeah,
real falling action.
Yeah. So it's a trade-off. It'd be nice if 88 had elbows at the very least, I think. But Sculpt looks great. Happy to have him.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm excited to see the card. That's great to check that off the list as well. So
yeah, and it means we get to buy 2 because we want a carded one and an opener. Oh boy,
what a privilege!
But another figure we've wanted on a card for a while, well, at least one of us, is Salacious B. Crumb on that sweet, sweet mini card.
Oh, come on now. I can't. All right. I'm not that crazy for one. Yeah.
No, you're not crazy. You're not crazy, but you have brought it up a couple times on this show.
I've been mentioning it for years. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the sculpt real quick first. It's the first new sculpt of Salacious in this scale since the 2007 figure. That was only ever meant to interact with C-3PO, sit on his shoulders, hold his eye, kind of chew his eye out, but has been repacked a number of times since then, including on a Revenge of the Jedi mini card in the 2011 San Diego Comic-Con Death Star set that was only offered that once and numbered, of course, and hard to get since then.
Yep.
You've been trying to track. Did you ever track one down? I can't remember.
Never did. Okay. I back in 2019, I almost had a sealed mint Revenge of the Jedi Death Star set. for $1,000. I almost got one for $1,000, but at the time I was like,
Wow.
that's a bit steep. Yeah, jokes on me. That thing's like what, $3,500 now.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah, you could get multiple ghosts for that. For figures, I already have, except for two. Yeah, the mini card, Crumb VC66. I know in the Blue Milk book, I think it, the Hasbro team from that time even mentioned that it wasn't intended to be numbered. Those mini cards weren't. It was Salacious B. Crumb and the Mouse Droid.
Hasbro making VC number mistakes. I'm glad that never happened again.
Yep, tale as old as time. It's wonderful, wonderful. But anyway, VC number on that was VC66. I've got a VC66 and VC67 hole in my collection, so I would love to fill it. John Miko in his Q&A mentioned to Chris and Patrick that, new figure, new number, where I don't necessarily disagree with that concept. However, I mentioned this to Chris in our interview, was if you're never going to reissue VC66 and VC67, then this is probably the only shot to do that, to do that mini card VC66. I don't know if we want a third one to track down. And I think people had floated VC66A or some kind of variation on that. I'd be happy to see it with VC66 still, even though it's a new figure, but on the same card, but just put Return of the Jedi instead of Revenge of the Jedi.
Yep.
And that would make me quite happy. I still am itching for the 1.0. It would not affect the value of the 1.0 one. I mean, we've seen this happen with a lot of these reissues of the hot figures, or hard to find ones, that the value drops a little bit, but there's still that 1.0 value. So
yeah, how much did I should have done my research on this, but did the Ahsoka that was going for $600 when they reissued that, did the price drop of the VC 1.0 version very much?
It did drop a lot. And that one was easier to get because that was more a mainline. I know the Republic Trooper though.
Yeah.
That one still kind of stayed a little high, even though it was reissued, but it was a fan channel reissue and it was limited, even the reissue is still like $40-$50 now. So.
I don't know what they should do. It's interesting. I'm glad they're doing it.
Ultimately, yes, I am too.
I am not really going back to 1.0 and getting those cards, but I am buying the 2.0, repacks, refreshes. So I'll be happy to have it. I'm happy to have a newly sculpted Salacious Crumb. I forgot to mention it looks similar to the Black Series sculpt from 9 years ago, which is coming again in the Black Series set, which is the same price as this one. Actually, they're both $90, but the Black Series one only includes Jabba, Salacious, and the Aurelian Hookah, all of which are repacks from 9 years ago. So, in my opinion, the TVC one is a better bang for your buck. It's still quite steep. I understand that, but a better set overall for sure.
Definitely.
As for actual San Diego Comic-Con reveals, we'll start with the biggest, the best, the one everybody's talking about, the one we've all waited years for, Life Day Chewbacca.
Yep.
This was, apart from the ghost, obviously, this was definitely my favorite reveal of the day. I've wanted holiday special figures for a long time. We have, the animated Boba Fett. We have, Zutton, who counts, but none really since then. And the Hasbro team called it out as the first holiday special figure, not necessarily, but I'll take it. And we talked about holiday special and holiday figures in general on an episode of this show around this past holiday season, and brought up the fact that Disney parks are celebrating Life Day in the parks and celebrating and selling actual factual merch of Chewie in his red robes from the holiday special. And luckily we didn't have to wait too long for TVC to join in on the celebration. There's plushes and Christmas ornaments and things like that. This particular figure seems to reuse the same 2004 body we've seen a million times, as recently as the ATST set. But it includes the 2020 Galaxy's Edge head, from what I can tell, as well as new hands so he can properly hold the orb. Love the orb.
The orb.
And the main attraction here is, of course, the robe. We got the orb and the robe, the orb and the robe, the robe for the orb and the orb for the robe. And
also, some people have got to be happy that they can now put their extra Imperial Royal Guard robe that they used for. Obviously, people were going crazy for customs of Life Day Chewie. There's probably dozens of you out there. You can now put that robe back on a Royal Guard so you can build out those ranks and have a proper Chewbacca.
But that Royal Guard was so cold without it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And And in various Q&As, Hasbro noted that this doesn't really necessarily open the door to other holiday special figures. Sort of a one-off since a specific Disney Parks Shop Disney exclusive. They're already doing other merch of Chewie in this look. But my God, it is so glorious to see a holiday special figure in this line. Lumpy was my number 25 on my top 25 list this year. I've talked about it before. You know, over the past couple of years, we've gotten droids figures, Ewoks figures from the animated series, kind of the trifecta of old ancillary Star Wars media would be the holiday special. So I'm glad that's joining as well. Next stop, the Ewok movies, of course. Maybe I'll see them by the time they get figures in the line.
I was going to say, for those of you out there who kind of want a sneak peek at a roadmap of Hasbro's offerings for the next 5 years, just look at John's top 25. It seems wild, but that's probably where they're going to pull from.
It's actually doing quite well so far.
Yeah. God.
But so yeah, it's on a Star Wars card, which we've also talked about before. And as I said, you don't mind it, huh?
No, I was going to ask, does that match the card that you mocked up?
It does. It matches it almost exactly.
Okay.
Because I shared it that day because I knew it would have the yellow of the Chewbacca if they did one, which I didn't know at the time. But if they did, it would have the yellow coloring of Chewbacca. It'd probably use a shot of him from the special. I think this is a much more cleaned up drawing, probably from Chris Tavis or some other great artist doing this. But yeah, him holding the orb. Doesn't have a call out about the holiday special, but it does say Chewbacca Life Day. And I'm okay with it being on the Star Wars card. I think that should be used sparingly, but because it's from media from that time period, I think if it came out in 1978 when the holiday special was around, it would have been on a Star Wars plain double racetrack card. So I think I'm cool with it. I'm totally
as
fine
Boba
with it.
Fett first was, you know.
Yep,
at that time he wasn't in A New Hope.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
he's the OG holiday special figure, I guess.
Yeah. I remember when they debuted it too. Speaking of the card, I think I heard John Miko or Augustine on their live feed from the Hasbro panel. I think one of them was just like, the warning logo covering that little Hildebrand art. Is that what it is? Hildebrand art? Is that what?
Yeah, from one of the Hildebrand posters and the artwork that they had with, because it kind of cuts off Luke's lightsaber, which is frustrating. And Miko's done some posts and articles about that. If they could just move that warning sign over a little bit, we could preserve the card art. I think they could just slide it over a little bit. I don't know.
Well, they put it on the bottom on those LFL 50 figures on the Return of the Jedi ones from Walmart, I think. Yeah, but that breaks up the racetrack. I don't hate that. I prefer that to covering up the Luke art. Yeah. But I'd still just scoot it over, just tap it in a little bit, just move it over just a little bit. Make it a little smaller. How big does it legally have to be, you know? Yeah, no kid's going to die from choking on that orb, you know? They're going to be fine. Oh, man. Smash cut to 6 months from now. Oh, God. I noticed that the figure on display at Comic-Con did not have a VC number on the back. It was not covered up. It just was simply not present, which, you know what, this actually is, and I mentioned this on the live stream, I think it's the only normal kind of carded Hasbro Vintage Collection figure outside of carbonized to not have any numbering whatsoever on it. That's not counting like the droids or the Ewoks ones that didn't have numbers on them, but they were a different style of card. The Hasbro or the HasLab figures have all had a different naming convention. We'll see what happens with the current HasLab. But yes, this one just has no numbering system. And I'm okay with that because it's an oddity and it's a Parks thing. You know, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe it should be. I don't think it shouldn't be. It's delicious tea. So it is. It's wonderful. So it's like Lewis made it. Is that offensive? I don't know. They love tea over there. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm not too bothered about it. I know exactly where I'm going to put it in my numbering system. So I'm okay with it. And it's kind of just put it wherever you want. Especially since there are so many doubled up numbers at this point. Who cares? So put it wherever you want. It's all a mess. It's all in shambles anyway. Yeah. But because even the comic Boba Fett ones, those are all, and the Kinder one, those are all numbered, right? Yep. So it's kind of, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, welcome to the Vintage Collection, where the numbering doesn't matter and makes no sense. Collect them all, which may be more or less than the actual number given. Yeah, we're on VC. We're circling, getting close to VC 300. We've actually got a reveal of one that's past 300, and there are more than 300 some figures, far more in the line too, if you want to go buy all the things that have been released under the Vintage Collection umbrella.
And I guess while we're on the topic, they did mention people asked about it in the Q&A, and they said, yeah, there'll be something special for VC300. Starkiller was kind of nothing special. They realized that he's a cool character, but could have been really any number. They intentionally put the Emperor as number 200. So I guess, they're probably doing something special for 300, whether it appears a couple waves late or whatever. They did call it out as something they have their eyes on.
It was nice to hear that, because I'm so used to folks just kind of, I know we've had discussions too with folks in the community that are just like, yeah, I don't think they care. We make a bigger deal out of it than they do. But it was kind of nice to hear Patrick and Chris talk about, oh yeah, no, we have something special planned for that, in the Q&As and then at the panel. I think, did they call it out at the panel too?
I don't know if they did.
Okay.
They brought up the VC numbers of the figures they revealed at the panel, though.
Yeah, which they always do in these live events. I noticed that on the images that they show on the screen, they put the VC number on the bottom, but not in the press assets.
And then, so what was the issue with this one? They noticed that I think the Bib, Fortuna, and then another character are doubled up. The Colts.
Yeah, this year's VC number mess up is the Walmart exclusive Colts and the Pulse exclusive pack-in carded Bib Fortuna Tatooine from the Book of Boba Fett, aka The Mandalorian, and also why Tatooine, because he's always on Tatooine, except for that one time in the Clone Wars where he's not on Tatooine. But oh my god!
Yes.
So yes,
yeah,
and yeah, it sucks, but yeah.
As we're going over the questions for the Q&A, we realized that it's always on exclusive figures. So it's like, the Walmart Mando shares a number with an Amazon Clone Trooper, and the two Walmart figures have the same number, the Mando and the Incinerator Trooper, stuff like that. So I don't know if it's like they need to tighten up the exclusive figures a little bit. Maybe they're being developed like separately from each other. I don't know.
Yeah, it does sound like, and they got asked that a bunch, and it does sound like that I got the impression that they legitimately are also a little irritated that happens, because it doesn't look good on them. It makes them look a little sloppy, and that's hard, especially on a collector first line where it's like they pride themselves on the details. Well, that's a little detail, and it's hard. I get it. I'm a copy editor by trade. Things can fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm bothered by it, but it's bothering me in a way that I can live with. So but I just want to say, for anyone who's concerned about that, in the Q&A, Chris mentioned, if we reissued them, we'd probably fix it. And I think I did an okay job of just saying, yeah, that'd be great, but don't do it at the expense of anything else. Like, it's not necessary. Like, don't take up a mainline slot. Like, doesn't need to be.
I didn't hear you say Captain Hauser's name, but it was very strongly implied.
Speaking of Captain Hauser, I forgot in the mail call, but look what I got. My opener of Captain Hauser.
Oh, is
what
it
a great
different?
Figure.
Is it different than the other one?
Not at all. Not in the slightest.
I also got my slightly updated Weequay, so I'll have to check that out at some point, but haven't done it yet.
I also got that too.
Oh my god.
Honestly,
Stunning.
I'm sorry to derail. I like this figure
It's
quite
a good figure.
Even though it's got swivel hips or whatever, like, you know what? I was able to get some fun poses out of it.
Yeah, it's
of course, I prefer modern articulation, but
he's totally fine. So yeah, and I've given you crap about the numbers because I personally am not that doesn't scratch my itch, the number stuff so much. It doesn't bother me as much as it does a lot of people, but I'm more bothered with things like slight minute differences between animated and live action appearances. Hey, speaking of which,
let's jump in.
Yes, they revealed a couple figures from the Ahsoka series. A literal couple, not a literal couple, but couple meaning two. Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Keep explaining. Maybe it'll make less sense.
I mean, I ship them. Why not? But anyway, they're both going up for pre-order on August 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Oh yeah, Chewie is not going up for pre-order. He'll just show up at some point. And then we'll all say, oh, that came out, and then it'll be gone from the parks. And we'll never know again.
No, I think Chewie is going up for pre-order. Was that November 1st or whatever?
That'll be order, because Shop Disney doesn't put anything up for pre-order. They just put it up for order.
Okay.
So that'll be Shop Disney. They said Shop Disney in November, and then the fall in the parks at some point.
Okay, cool.
So
it'll probably show up in the parks like a month before it goes up on Shop
and then
Disney.
I'll weigh driving down to Anaheim from Los Angeles too many times.
Yeah. Speaking of, there's a new droid. I would like you to get it for me.
Yes, the Frankenstein droid. I forget that's not on the outline, so I forgot about it, but I love it, and we'll look into it for you. But anyway, back to the Ahsoka and my lovely, amazing segue that I totally didn't screw up 40 times. It's Sabine. It's deluxe Sabine Wren.
Yes.
First time she has ever been in the Vintage Collection, a very popular March Madness choice, along with the rest of the Rebels Ghost crew. The third 3.75-inch figure of her overall. They made animated 5 POA versions of her Season 1 and Season 2 looks in the Rebels and Rogue One line looks.
I only have the one from Rogue One. Which one was that? Was that Season 2?
Season 2, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the better figure. The first one didn't even have a separate head. So this one comes with both lit and unlit versions of Ezra's lightsaber, which she has modified a bit. A pair of blaster pistols, a spray gun for all her painting, her vandalism, a messenger bag, a Loth cat with an articulating head, and the biggest damn helmet you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, that's some Spaceballs level.
The animated Season 2 figure from 6-7 years ago looks fine. It's a little big, but it looks totally fine. I don't know what happened that they just can't do removable helmets if they're not completely bald anymore.
Yeah. With this, and multiple times, I think they were asked multiple times, and I asked them as well during our Q&A about, this is a deluxe figure. The helmet is frankly just really big. I did feel bad. I always feel bad when I say something negative directly to them. It's harder when you're looking at someone
as a human
talking
person,
to someone as a human.
Yeah.
I feel bad, but again, we're paying $28 for this thing that's marketed as deluxe, and I get it. They have their reasons for it. So Chris said that they opted for removable helmet on this because we see Sabine put the helmet on and off, and that's a major part of the playability.
And that was the same reason given when we asked about Axe Woves.
But they also seemed aware that it was not, super awesome. And they mentioned that, future releases of Sabine, there's no reason we couldn't do swappable heads is what they said.
Yeah.
So,
and people have pointed out it's the same basic design, the helmet in the shows as the Bo-Katan style, Night Owl helmet, female Mandalorian helmet. And on both Bo and Cosca Reeves, they had swappable helmets and heads, which were the same. They put their helmets on and off just as many times as Axe Woves from Season 2. So I don't know why he got the privilege of having a giant helmet and they didn't.
Yeah. But it does sound like they're open to the feedback. So it's, I'm sure we'll probably put up some polls and try to get some numbers, some data so that, do people prefer swappable heads, or do they want removable helmets? Do you want the playability? Do you want the accuracy? That was kind of the argument there. Personally, I know where I fall on that one. Swappable heads all day, but I know, John, you take issue with those in the bubbles.
Well, sometimes I don't always hate it. It's a little for exaggerated for comedic effect, but I do like removable. I think
it's a good idea.
In theory, it's a fine idea, but I think I like the removable helmets when they work, which up until the last year, they always kind of were fine. In some cases, the heads were super small or the helmets were oversized, but there were plenty of examples of them working just fine, in my opinion. So I don't know why they had to kind of completely overshoot the size of this.
It's as big as her torso, man. It's huge. I'm not understating how big this thing is, man.
Even on the new Death Star 2 Vader, his head is a little bit slimmed down, which I know some people thought mess with the portrait or whatever, but the helmet looks fine when it's on the head. The head looks fine without the helmet.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
It's an incredible figure otherwise.
Yes.
Other than that helmet, it is an incredible figure. Wow. In fact, I think it has more articulation than the Black Series version.
Yes, that's true, because it was actually mentioned a while ago in some ZBrush Summit that Black Series figures would no longer have the thigh cut and articulations.
Yeah. That kind of slid under the radar, because it didn't happen for a long time.
Yeah, and it took a while to actually show up on figures, but now it finally did with the Ahsoka series figures revealed at Comic-Con. But yes,
for Black Series, yes.
Yeah, so Sabine is actually more articulated than the Black Series version, which is kind of funny. Even though she has the Black Series figures helmet, it would appear. Anyway, now to get in some different kind of minutia. This is based on her live action appearance, which is also supposed to be the same outfit she wears at the end of Rebels in the Season 4 epilogue. There are some differences. I compared them before doing this. It sort of takes cues from her other various looks. So I know this is not super great or compelling to talk about in an audio format, but I will also be sharing this as posts at SWTVC on Instagram. All to say, they're clearly going to have more Sabines in the line with minimal tooling here and there. But yeah, and jetpacks and things like that, different hair colors. And yeah.
There's one thing that I'll mention about Sabine later for sure, but how you just mentioned it, all they need to do is tool up one new torso. And that's something that Hasbro seems to be willing to do to get a lot of mileage out of other stuff, like they've done with Piet, Jared, and another upcoming reveal we'll talk about. So just redoing a chest and using all the other pieces pretty much to mix and match and make a bunch of different new looks or new characters.
Yes, it can be done. It can be done, and it most assuredly will be done.
But it wasn't done in the case of this next reveal, which was
Ahsoka from Ahsoka. It's the exact same figure as VC 222 from last year, but now she has a new card and is a new VC number to boot, 297. Are you bothered that she has a new number?
Not in the slightest.
Do you wish she had the same number?
No, God, no, because it's a different card. It's for a different media property. It's a couple years later. I'm actually, as silly as it is, and it's the same exact figure one, that's a bomb figure, dude. I love that figure. I have it in my office at work. It's one of the few I have there. And yeah, as a person who does like being a carded collector, I'm really excited and happy to have Ahsoka, the, titular character from the show, available, hopefully sooner rather than later. But on that card, it means something to me, even though it's not exactly what I would have liked. I would have liked to have seen at least maybe a new wrist system on this figure, maybe updated head sculpt with new Leku, or maybe some slightly different things, or pack in that robe that was previously paywalled in the deluxe set from Walmart. That would have been a great thing. Or her lightsaber hilts, something to set it apart. That's what kind of bothers me about this figure. But otherwise, happy to have a carded sample at least. And definitely an opener like I just did with Hauser for no reason. God, dude, I'm a sucker.
And if people don't compare these things as closely as we do, why we're asking for a new head sculpt with different Leku and Montrals is that they sized them up for her series. A little bit for Book of Boba Fett too, I guess. But
it's like an incremental easing us into it.
Yeah. Because in Mandalorian, her head tails were a lot smaller, a little bit more like her earlier Clone Wars appearances, less. They didn't want to go as crazy as Shock T, because they kind of said, you'd just be distracted looking at that, not paying attention to Rosario's performance.
Well, and also with the stunt work they have to do. So
yeah, also the stunt work. Yeah, so fair enough, but I think they've got a much better medium in the images and videos from the upcoming series. I assume we'll get another Ahsoka, maybe. I have no idea, but, she has another outfit that we've seen in the trailers, so hopefully they'll do that as well. Maybe a Rebels version as well. Anyway, she should be coming soon sometime this fall. She's in the wave after the Cad Bane wave, which also includes previously revealed figures Luke Skywalker Jedi Academy, the Grand Inquisitor, another Rebels character in a live-action form, a couple figures who were totally shown off on card backs at Comic-Con yet again before Hasbro realized they were visible to everyone.
And this will be the last time that we get that. So.
The last time ever. So savor it, people.
Yep, because they're changing the backs of cards. That's it.
Yes. But we're getting Morgan Elsbeth and the HK-87 Assassin Droid, two characters that first appeared alongside live-action Ahsoka in her debut episode of The Mandalorian, though these versions appear to be based on their looks in the Ahsoka series, from what we can tell in these tiny, tiny, grainy images. Not a lot to say on this now, but
I'm pretty excited though. That's nice to see more figures from that show.
Absolutely, yeah. They're kind of building out the world of the Mandalorian, but definitely building out the world of the Ahsoka series. The HK-87 is an all-red version from the trailers. There most assuredly will be repaints with different soft goods, capes and cloaks, whatever they're all wearing. They're all got a little bit of different fashion. I love when a droid has some fashion sense, but
I think we chatted about how it would actually be kind of a neat troop builder pack, as a couple different paint variations of those. But also, if you have the rescue, or no, is it the rescue set? Yeah, the rescue set. You can take the Beskar spear from that set and give it to her to have her fight Ahsoka.
It's also coming in
recreate that episode.
It's also coming in the Mando figure in the N1 as well, if you're going to open that. But anyway, this wave has one more character that was shown and put up for pre-order. I'm sure Tyler has already said it all about this guy, but it's VC-296 Grand Admiral Thrawn. Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? He's right here in the Vintage Collection.
He's coming to our collections.
Yes. We talked about him as a pipeline. You talked about him on the stream, I'm sure. But to say it's interesting that he has the animated head sculpt, very similar to Black Series. which we knew, not animated, but like, as if they took
Realistic,
the animated,
yeah.
turned into a real guy. But before they cast him, I don't know. We knew that we knew this from when they announced him at Celebration. But all the other Rebels characters they've announced have had likenesses based on the actors playing them in the Ahsoka series. So now he's kind of an outlier. It's nice to get him with the series, but it would have been the cherry on top to have him just looking like Lars Mikkelsen. I'm sure that will come at some point, sooner rather than later, with the exact same body, looks like, because his outfit is the exact same.
How do you feel about it where there's no ifs, ands, or buts now that the animated characters are getting animated images on their card backs? Now there's no, it's not like the original Anakin and Obi-Wan card backs from VC 1.0 where they were realistic interpretations or anything, or realistic art. These are just from the from the character model from the show.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled just for I don't mind it. I think it looks good in and of itself, but for consistency's sake, it does bother me. That bothers me more than any number of inconsistencies. Maybe I'm nuts.
No, dude, that's fair. I don't agree with you, but yeah, I get you.
So like, I mean, what really bugs me, like I said before, the 3 ARC troopers.
It was a transition through those ARC troopers.
Yep,
too.
One was a realistic, a Photoshop of Tamora Morrison on an animated body, or a drawing of one that was realistic, and then the one that was like kind of in between, and then just a straight up screenshot from Clone Wars. And then when Lewis asked Emily about this at Celebration, it was kind of like, no, these are supposed to be like realistic interpretations of the images. And then it was like, well, yeah, it's supposed to be, but it's definitely not. And now we're just past the point of no return, but whatever.
Yeah. Hey, so man, at least I'm just happy we have Rebels.
I am too, but now we can, at least with Rebels, it'll all be the same kind of thing, other than the other ones that are coming up. But they're all animated in some way. It's strange. I don't know. We can start fresh with Rebels. Is all animated, whatever. I'm trying not to freak out about it. It's all right. We're totally fine.
They're refreshing the back of the card style, so why not just accept that? This is kind of like a soft TVC 3.0 almost.
Oh, God. Don't even go there, I guess. But, yeah. So anyway, there was a couple more figures shown as well that are from the following wave, which also has R5D4, starting with BC 299 Pre Vizsla, the man who almost beat Chrysanthemum in the 2022 SWTVC March Madness anyway.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
Shockingly close. But as we've said before, this is based on his Clone Wars Season 4 and 5 appearance. The Season 2 appearance with the cape was released as an animated style figure, so it's nice to finally get this version. And the figure itself is obviously based on the Clone Wars Mandalorian figures from last year, as he very well should be. It's a great figure. And he's dressed the exact same, but he's got a new jetpack, head sculpt, and helmet, which looks totally fine as a removable helmet, which proves they can do it if there's not a single hair on the character's head. Otherwise, they're just going to it's not going to be slightly oversized. It's going to be just incredibly massive every time.
Yeah, being bald, man, it's a plus. It is a plus. Makes your action figure more accurate.
Gonna have to bust out the razor and see what it's like, I guess. But
yeah. Well, nature's taking care of it for me, so.
Very strange. Yeah, they did reveal it the same day as the Black Series one, and this one looks significantly better because the Black Series is using shoes on the other foot now. They're using the Django sculpt from 2014, which is way outdated. I just think of because as Black Series fans have been rightfully complaining about use of an out-of-date sculpt for that, or an base sculpt. I just think of what is it? I don't even know what it's from, but the James Franco with the noose, just like first time. Yeah, man. Welcome to the show. Now, no one can tell us that we can't be sad that we don't have an Ewok Leia that's not from 1997. Ewok Village Leia. Yeah. So. God, but looks great. Oh yeah, one other thing I didn't write was that this Darksaber has a lot of like white painted effects on the side, which I think looks really nice and neat, and it's different to how they've been doing it so far in Vintage Collection. Yep, we talked about that on the live stream. Well, I didn't know that. I remember nothing about it, and I'm a passive listener and participant. I will say things that were already said, and you're just going to listen. You're going to hit 30 seconds forward on your thing. This is the podcast. That was a live stream. Yes, they're different things. Events. Yeah. Different things. Yeah. But anyway, next up, the final figure reveal of the day was Darth Revan, VC301, skipping right over VC300. All new tip to toe. He almost had a chance to be double the original VC number he was assigned, which was going to be VC150. Which, that's right. Again,
bullying works. Just kidding. But fan feedback on that was like, hey, don't repack that 2007 Salt Shaker. That's a Happy Meal toy. We would like an actual proper figure that belongs in the vintage collection.
And it's actually based on the actual character, not a fan
Yes.
design from DeviantArt or whatever.
Which I noticed that one of the press images, like one of the promo images of that figure, is with the hood down to showcase the helmet and the mask. That it's like, look, it's right.
Nice. And I believe it was John Miko and Augustine who asked if they could repaint this figure as a Jedi Revan, much like they did in the Black Series. Hasbro team noted that it was a good idea, which when they say it like that, that's Hasbro speak for, yeah, that's already planned and it's obviously coming.
Which means something I asked about is probably coming. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's different variations of good idea of like, I think they told somebody else, I'm not sure which one it was, but it was reported that somebody asked, are the Bad Batch coming? And they're like, yeah, we'd like to do all the Bad Batch. And then that was taken as gospel of, oh my God, they're all pipelined for the next wave. It's like, no. I'd like to have a complete Kinder collection. I'd like to have Simalu in my collection, but doesn't mean it's happening. Okay.
You could in retro, probably.
That's very likely. And we talked about the new / old style card backs on this, but they begin in this wave, which sure, fine. It doesn't have the other figures in the wave on the back anymore, but it still has an entire half dedicated to legal gumph, as Bosk's Bounty Tim calls it. But it has finally the return of character bio, which we haven't seen in a long time since I guess the Phantom Menace wave converted to the new version of the new style without any
that was in the VC 70s, right?
Yeah, it's been quite a while then.
Yeah, man. I think I mentioned it to Chris too, where it's nice to have that extra splash of color, just on shelves in our collections, depending on how you display stuff. I know that I have stuff that it's like kind of my shelves are 6 figures deep, but even then you get the kind of even the reflection of more color.
Sure.
Character bios more interesting. As much as I love to look at other figures, that's cool. You have it written down here about how I asked them about how in 1.0 they would include kind of a history of the line where they would put older figure, a photo of the older figure, the first version of that figure, of that character on the back, kind of like a history to celebrate the history. I asked Chris about that. Obviously Revan didn't have his 2007 figure on the back of the card. So Chris was probably like, what do they want? The old figure or the new figure? Come on. But yeah, he said it's not off the table. They're not doing it now, but it's not off the table. And I think that's encouraging that they at least have that in mind. And I think it could be interesting for certain important things, especially. So.
Yeah. Like if they
because I know 1.0 wasn't perfect with it either. They messed it up a few times.
Yeah. I mean, it started as like a directly showing, like on the Empire Strikes Back wave that started TVC 1.0. It would show the original 1980 figure. And then, you flip it around and see the new figure, basically kind of to show
the evolution.
The fact that, the evolution, the fact that they are paying homage to older figures in the line. But then you get, immediately.
Maybe they don't want to do that because they repack some old figures. Like, hey, remember this Chewbacca? Here's a picture of it on the back.
We probably need to avoid that.
Yeah.
But it looks nice. I still wish they could condense some of the legalese a little bit. I would like, again, in the 1.0, the top had the bio and the nice splash of color and the history.
That
the bottom had
runner.
And the bottom had they had the other product and stuff. So it would have been nice if they could do that, but they can't. Anyway, we got a couple of multi-packs, one vintage, one retro. The vintage one is the Imperial Officers. I'm sure it's already been said, but eat me. It includes Admiral Piet with his Empire Strikes Back Admiral badge. Our long national nightmare is over. I'm sure this was gone into in great detail by Tyler.
Yeah, it actually was. It was exhausting.
I'm shocked. Next up is Admiral Mahdi from A New Hope, who is missing the silver boxes on his belt. The only one in this set not to be wearing gloves. Huh?
Is it Mahdi or Modi?
I always thought it was Mahdi.
I always said Mahdi, but I've been hearing people say Modi. And
I don't think that's correct.
I'll default to however you say it. I was saying Modi to fit in, but...
Might be, but I got to watch the Conan clip where either Conan or Jordan Schlansky asked George Lucas what Admiral Mahdi's name was, and he said it was Conan Antonio Mahdi. Maybe he said Modi, I don't know. Yeah. But kind of like when he said Stu John was Obi-Wan's home planet when Jon Stewart asked him. And And then General Tag is the other one. I always thought it was Taggy because in the credits, it's Taggi, but in all the books and everything, it's Tagge. And I think it's supposed to be pronounced Tag, but the credits say Taggy. Well, we're going down the pronunciation rabbit hole again. I love to live in it. We should be in the rank badge rabbit hole instead right now. So,
Yep. And code cylinder.
Yes, and so Admiral Mahdi is so close to being able to be reused for Vice Admiral Rampart from the Bad Batch, but he's one code cylinder shy. He's got 1 on the right, 2 on the left. He should have 2 on both for Rampart. But we're so close, the set also has 2 randos, both of whom have the holster and the lower skirt from Thrawn. One in the gray suit uses the exact same chest sculpt from Return of the Jedi Admiral Piet, 3/3 rank badge, 1 code cylinder in his left pocket. Wait, right? Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
It's an audio medium. It doesn't
Yes,
matter.
his left, yes. His left, looking at it, it's on the right. I don't know.
Stage right.
Yes.
Stage left,
And then
yeah.
the one in the white suit, however, appears to be a debut of the torso that will be used for Director Krennic with his 6/6 rank badge and 1 code cylinder in each pocket. It's kind of hard to see the silver on white, but he's an ISB guy, it would appear to be, or whatever other rank, wears the all-white suit.
Was that the one that folks were saying is also identical if they just gave it a different head sculpt? They could do it as a gaming grade because it would be, is it Admiral Versio from Battlefront 2?
Yeah, it's similar to him. It's also, I saw some people saying it looks kind of like Blevin from Andor, but it's not quite close. I sort of wish, I don't know, and we've gone back and forth on whether or not these sets, a lot of the unnamed, or a lot of the unmasked sets have 2 named characters like Captain Antilles and Pellis Grambus, or the 2 Hoth guys, and then they have some new characters so that it's not just all British men from the white British dudes from the 70s, to have a little diversity in the line, which is fine. But now, there's so many other new Imperial officers. I sort of would have preferred if they just gave us some people say named characters should always be on card. I say if you're going to do it, just give us characters. Like, I don't know when else we're going to get Andor Imperial officers. So it would have been cool. It would have been nice, but I'll take these guys. They can mill about in the background of the ISB building, whatever.
It's like, yeah, you could give them the specific head sculpts, but they're all so generic anyway, to me, I'm sure that's insane to some people, but to me, it's kind of different than like Waxer being in the 212th, like in a trooper, like, having one that has specific deco on them that sets them apart from the rank and file. So it's kind of hard to just build, a platoon when you have to then get several of the one that you can't use in it. So
sure. 3 of them have hats, and in the panel, I think they called out swappable hats. I guess it sort of sounded like they said swappable heads. But if you really want to mix and match the heads, I guess you can have Admiral Piet pre A New Hope when he's only got 1 line on his rank badge. I don't know, do what you want with these figures, but they can all wear wacky hats as well. And you also asked about the hats, right?
Yes, I did.
Because they're just so... some of the helmets, I don't know. They're so big, we talked about it before.
I think that's one hill that I don't know if I'd die on is the hats. I think they look fine
either.
to me. They don't actually look too bad in person for me. I know photographing them can be a little bit different. We've talked about that before, how some of these figures look a little off when you photograph them, but in hand they look amazing. But yeah, they just mentioned something about logistically with, the wall thickness of making them, you can only make them so thin, which some people are not totally convinced by, and I don't know, but ultimately I think it was kind of there too, where they asked the question, well, do you want the removable hat or do you want a sculpted on hat or whatever? But I don't know. That's another thing we can probably just ask around for and see what folks' general opinions are.
Yeah. And I know Tyler would say, because Captain Nita, the Legacy Collection figure, had a removable hat, that his head was kind of smaller also, again.
Yes.
But the hat was much, much smaller. My personal opinion on this, while I like removable helmets when they work, I think I don't need Piet to be able to take his hat off. I'm not a customizer, so I don't need it for other figures. I'd rather have one figure that looks perfect instead of the ability to make 100 figures that all look like they have giant hats. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also, I wear a hat all the time. I never take it off, not even in the bedroom. So, like, it's hats all the time. So I don't need removable hats on my figures if I won't do it in my life. So
I'll give a slight spoiler warning for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. He also keeps his hat on in the bedroom, apparently. Anyway.
That's where the similarities of me and Indiana Jones end.
All right, so one more multi-pack, one more reveal before we get into the pipelines in the HasLab. And retro collection, we know retro is divisive among our followers, but they revealed a retro collection, Return of the Jedi 6-pack. Do you want to run them down real quick?
Yeah. So the set includes the Gamorrean Guard, Admiral Akbar, Wicket, Yakface, the Emperor's Royal Guard, and debuting Mon Mothma.
Yes, the third original trilogy character debut in the line, I believe, after Tarkin and Snowspeeder Luke.
Yep.
Boy, wouldn't that card look nice in TVC with scuff marks that are not intended to be there. We'll probably get the scuff marks either way, but also another thing to note is that the Black Series and the Retro Collection have both gotten the Royal Guard image from 1983, while Vintage Collection in 2012 updated it to a different image. And as I've said, both were used on Black Series this year, and Retro gets the original as well, so I can be pretty pleased to get the original 1983 one in Vintage Collection as well.
You know, that's really, I think you really just hit on the charm of this podcast, is fixating on these completely trivial things. And I am so guilty of it, that it's like these little details are so small, so seemingly insignificant. And yet, damn, dude, to someone, they're going to drive them crazy. Twin Sons Collecting, we're so sorry that you're having to deal with this Imperial Royal Guard image.
I do like we've had on like 5 different little OCD anal retentive things in this podcast, half of which I don't care about, and you care so much about, and half of which you could not care less about, and I care so much about, which is it just shows that you can't please anybody ever.
Nope, Hasbro, we're sorry, but I'm not going to edit any of it out. It's all going to stay in. You're all going to be listening to it, so buckle up. We've been going for an hour and we haven't even talked about the HasLab properly.
Oh my God. So, yeah. Just go back it. That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah.
Got some pipelines as well, of course.
Speaking of a character we mentioned earlier, removable helmets.
So Axe Woves from season 3. I don't know if we've said on the show, in season 2, he has actually a repaint of Din's original Durasteel or whatever it is armor, which is a slightly unique look, and it's also similar to the Death Watch Mandalorians from the live-action flashback. In Season 3, he gets a more traditional-looking Boba Fett-style armor, so maybe they'll just use the Clone Wars body for that, which they could also use for the Mandalorian Fleet Commander, who was already revealed for Black Series, so we kind of know what he will look like. And then Season 3 versions of Mando and Grogu, which I know in the live stream you said we don't need, but I need every version of the main characters of everything.
I didn't say we don't need them.
Okay. Yeah. That was Tyler's list.
Yeah.
I have no idea how Mando gets some more gear at the end of season 3, but I sort of doubt that they're going to include that already. And Grogu has a darker, sleeker pram in season 3, so
I do want that.
I'm happy to see that. When he's floating around in the mines of Mandalore on that thing, I'll put him next to R5D4 in the end one. It'll look pretty awesome. Don't know what they can do with Mando. Fix the hips, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, that's really the only thing.
The next 2 are going to compete for Peg Warmer of the Century. I love them both.
Yeah.
They already two figures that did not sell particularly well from the Black Series Walmart exclusives
in 2015 and 2016, respectively.
Yes. It's Finn from The Force Awakens and Cassian Andor from Rogue One, both of which were confirmed through later Q&As to be just photoreal repacks of those figures. Currently in development, maybe there's a chance for some differences. Yeah. But as it stands right this minute, it's just going to be the old figures with new face paint.
I tried to encourage them to at least pack Finn with the lightsaber to make him slightly more interesting. I think that might have been part of why he lacked appeal on shelves, because he was marketed as the guy with the lightsaber. And yet in those Force Awakens toy lines, we did not have a good guy with a lightsaber sold.
Yeah. And because they were still waiting to show that Rey had the lightsaber until after the movie came out and all that. But there were plenty of Finns on the shelf already, and then the Walmart Black Series one showed up. And so we've talked about it before. Like, I do really want Finn in the vintage collection. He's on my top 25 in the...
Yeah, same.
We've been looking at the indoor Han Solo figure thinking, wow, actually they could reuse most of this for a Rise of Skywalker Finn. Hasbro, if you're listening, I don't know. He does need different boots, but if they're not going to make accurate boots for Han, I don't think they're going to make accurate boots for Finn. He just needs new forearms for the gauntlets. He needs a new vest. He obviously needs a new head sculpt, and then he's fine, in my opinion. Rise of Skywalker Finn, we're like 75% of the way there.
Yeah.
I would really prefer that over another repack of that Finn figure. I don't find it as bad as a lot of people do. The articulation is outdated on the legs. Doesn't have rocker ankles, I don't think.
That now, though, brings us down to of sequel characters that do have modern articulated, but modern for 2015. There were several in that Walmart Black Series line. They've actually repacked most all of those, or reissued, because some of them were TVC figures from 1.0 in that line. They've reissued almost all of them since in 2.0. But we don't have Starkiller base Han Solo in his blue jacket, the Broomhilda ugly Princess Leia, Rose, and the First Order Stormtrooper Executioner, I think, are the only 4 sequel characters that do exist in super articulated format that have not been brought into the vintage collection now. So not that they'd sell well, whatever. We all know that I'm filthy and horrible and would want them, but I get it. I suck, but I want them. So
no. But it's interesting that they would, dip their toe back in the waters with a figure who already didn't sell that well the first time.
That's what hurts me the most is this figure's gonna fail.
Well, because they haven't had a sequel trilogy figure in a couple of years since really the Rise of Skywalker. So
this was like they could have just. It's like if they want to dip their toes in the sequel thing. I mean, it should have been Kylo Ren. I know that would have required more tooling, but
I wonder.
Dude, yeah, you can't issue this and then just be like, oh, it failed, so obviously nobody wants it. It's like, but nobody wants it.
Yeah.
I could rant about this. I'm not going to. It hurts my feelings a little bit, but
it's a strange choice. One positive thing is that in the Celebrate the Saga set, they did give photoreal to the 5POA Last Jedi Finn, and that was a really nice update. That head looks really good on him.
I did a head swap on those. So.
Nice. So you're all set already.
But I'll still buy it.
Yes.
I'll buy a case of it just to put my money where my mouth is. So.
And then as far as Cassian, he was already brought into Vintage Collection in like the second or third wave of 2.0.
Wave I believe 2, I think.
And he hit Ollie's also. Like I saw a lot of those in images at Ollie's.
Yep.
Because again, that one didn't sell super well when it was in the Black Series. There's renewed interest in Cassian. Maybe we just got his newer, much better figures in Vintage Collection from his series.
But let's also just remember to, just for a little bit more context, all those Black Series 3 3/4 inch figures from the Phase 3, like the red box line, that entire line was Walmart exclusive, and it was distributed horribly. There were some places that got like 40 cases and places and some markets that just got 0 or like one and done, and it was just piled up randomly. There was no rhyme or reason to the release strategy. So
I saw stores that had like none, and then I would see stores that had a bunch of Finns or Cassians.
Yeah.
But it's very strange. So yeah, I know we've seen people do head swaps with the Andor versions, even though his beard's not quite the same. So hopefully it'll look good with photoreal. Older figures don't always work with photoreal. There's like alignment issues because like now they sculpt like keys or like rectangles into the bottom of the ball socket on the head so they can like line them up properly. They didn't do that before they had photoreal. So it doesn't always work, and like the hair was sculpted with the head and not separate. So if they could do a new head on Cassian, I'd prefer that, but they were again currently leaning towards not doing that. Another update I would like to see, and I've mentioned before when we were talking about the Dream Packs last summer, was his vest that he wears for a lot of the film over this exact outfit. Like when he's on the U-Wing and when he's on during the final battle on Scarif. So it could be a nice update for him, but regardless, it would be nice to get, because both Jyn and Cassian Black Series figures were repacked in vintage without photoreal, so we can at least get them with photoreal. Won't be perfect, but will be better, hopefully. I don't know. So, we still need Baze and Bodhi, but maybe this is a good sign of things to come, or maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, last 2 pipelines. Phase 1 Clone Trooper, obviously on the new clone body. Hopefully the helmet's nicer than the Phase 2 one. We all knew it was coming.
But this last one, though, is super exciting for many reasons. Long requested figure, and most recently,
the winner of this year's March Madness, #1 last year, the fallen Jedi, the Sith Lord, Count Dooku himself. Finally coming to the Vintage Collection.
Finally. I was just happy that I got Chris to acknowledge that Tales of the Jedi was an actual thing that
Yes.
happened and existed,
I
and that
so that
they were
that
aware of it.
that one did also feel a little bit like, yeah, we're aware, we're kind of, because they could bake that in. I don't know that, didn't do my due diligence on this, but they can reuse a lot of the parts. I'm sure at least the arms and legs for a
Mhm.
Jedi Master Dooku.
Yep.
Maybe even the
Yep.
torso. I don't know.
That would be nice. He was on my top 25 in the Jedi look.
Nice.
So, because I had
You get-
more faith in
You only
the
get one.
live action look getting more votes anyway. So I do
Yeah.
want it as well.
We got a holiday special Chewbacca before we got Count Dooku in the vintage collection, but that's all right.
Oh boy, I could fall down that rabbit hole of getting a Life Day Chewbacca before we got Little Leia, before we got Jedi Legend Obi-Wan, before we got Force Ghost Qui-Gon, before we got Force Ghost Anakin, before we get a proper revenge. Yeah, I won't do that. I could go on for a while.
I think he just did. But so it's nice to see, Mando season 3 finally, a couple of months after the season ended. A little sequel trilogy, maybe not the best figure they could have picked to get back in. Little Rogue One, little prequel, finally a newly tooled prequel figure in the line. Next year, of course, is the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace, which they are sort of celebrating with these retro pipelines, which were Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, Battle Droid, Jar Jar, Queen Amidala. presumably the red themed version that was shown in the image and has not been made in 3.75 inch since the 2001 Power of the Jedi line. Can we get some love in TVC for the 25th anniversary, or is Dooku a sign that they're kind of doing a general prequel celebration next year? I don't know, because they totally missed the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones, as we all harp on about. But
we did a whole episode on that.
Last reveal, folks, it's the ghost. You already know about the ghost.
But do they know they need to get it?
Do they know they need #GetTheGhost?
#GetTheGhost.
I don't have any notes about it. What do you think about it?
Well, I'm curious about what you think about it, John, because I've already talked about how I'm super excited about it. I'm happy to have Rebels in the vintage collection. There's a lot riding on this, it seems. It's an incredible vehicle. Like, it's just so awesome. Like, yeah, I backed 4. So what do you think about it?
Can I ask why you backed 4?
One for me.
Uh-huh.
Another for me, because it comes with carded figures.
Yes.
1 at the base, and then the 3-tier unlocks are Ezra, Kanan, and Zeb, and they come on cards too. The mural from the finale of Rebels, and they're in their season 4 looks, correct?
Yes.
I need those figures in my life. I feel like this is maybe the one shot at Kanan, since he's presumably not appearing in any live action stuff. But I don't know. But I needed 2 sets of those figures to open and whatever. And then I'm getting one to help out a buddy. And I was getting another one just in case. So
why not? My feelings in general are obviously, as I said before, the Ghost was my most wanted HasLab item. They didn't make it 10 years ago with the Rebels line 9 years ago. So I've been waiting. I held off and I didn't get the preschool version of the ship. This one looks incredible. I'm glad it's, live action, but also celebrating Rebels. They didn't explicitly say it's the 10th anniversary celebration, but it is coming out in the 10th anniversary of Rebels next year, which would be awesome. As for the figures, yes, Hera is part of the base offering. It is her season 4 look. They said some stuff about this in the Q&A with various sites and in the text on the HasLab page and in the panel. It's all a little different, but it seems like this isn't the only time we'll get these characters, but it's the only time we'll get these exact versions, these figures of them.
yeah.
I haven't done a deep dive yet, but I will do one along with Sabine on the page. But in the panel, Patrick said about Hera, quote, "This version of her costume is exclusive to HasLab. Won't ever get it anywhere else, so make sure to get it here." As far as Ezra, he said, he comes with some HasLab exclusive details to this campaign. The torso is fully unique, tailored to the animation details. You can see that in his collar and striping. And Zeb and Kanan's season 4 looks were noted as being exclusive to this campaign, as well as Zeb's portrait expression. So perhaps if they do another Zeb, he'll have just a different expression. But yeah, with Ezra, if you compare the hologram that you see for one shot in the trailer, 2 shots, the collar is much smaller, #smaller collar. But my guess is they can reuse the entire rest of that figure for an Ahsoka version. Without the accessories, without the Biker Scout helmet, without the Loth Cat. And obviously, and the card backs were noted as being exclusive, as you said. So those will definitely never come again. We're definitely getting Hera because they're back today. So gotta get at least these 3.
Complete the crew, gang.
Yes. So I don't know what tooling they can reuse for season 1 versions of these characters, but
just to circle back to the cards and the mural, it is heavily implied that if this thing hits the 17,000 backer threshold and beyond, it has been very heavily implied that the proper season 4 accurate Sabine and Chopper would likely be getting added, not to the HasLab,
right.
but likely be things that they do to, one, support this giant purchase that we've made, but to complete the crew, and also it sounds like complete the mural.
Yes, hashtag complete the mural. Let's get there once we get past 17,000. But yeah, they kind of mentioned, people are like, okay, why aren't Chopper and Sabine in this? Well, they revealed Sabine in her live action look. I'm sure they just kind of want to keep that special for right this minute. I'm sure, again, as we said, they can just do a few different parts and make all her other versions.
And why not Chopper? Well, there's nothing we can reveal at this time.
Yes, but he is coming in the show, so put 2 and 2 together, folks. And at least we get a little bust. He is represented in the Phantom 2 with just the head. The head is removable. I don't think I've seen any pictures of it, actually taken out, but it is removable. And there, as we've said before, there's already a great Disney Parks Chopper. If you don't have it, he's coming again as the Frankenstein Halloween figure. So buy that figure. All these great customizers, I'm sure they can do great things. Paint him in Rebels colors. Why not? If you really want to.
Thank you again for getting me that original Chopper
version
all those years ago.
Which is a great figure. It's a really good figure. It does.
Looks great on the card. Need one to open at some point.
I mean, hopefully, it was kind of hard to get, so hopefully Hasbro will do one sooner rather than later. I'm sure they will. So, and repack them on the mural card. Why not?
I'm excited, man. This is a really big shot in the arm that, I needed for my enthusiasm for the line. It's really great to see something from those darn cartoons that only the youths like get, a huge thing. And guess what? It backed. So whatever. There you go. Many of the people that were out there just like, well, it wouldn't back like, an Imperial shuttle would back. This would never back. Yeah, guess what? Sorry, reality. So like we did it. I
did love that Chris, somebody brought that up to Chris in the Q&A. Why wasn't this an Imperial shuttle? I wanted an Imperial shuttle. And he's like, we made that. We already had that for it. We did. We've been there, done that. But he said, something along the lines of, it's out there. It exists. We wanted to focus on something totally new, never before done. Which personally, that's my favorite stuff to see in the line. I know a lot of things desperately need updates. I know. But a ghost gets my motor running.
Yeah, man. Hashtag get the ghost.
Hashtag get the ghost. They did mention that the Phantom 1, which you just added to your collection, does not fit. I noticed that it has some the ghost has some pegs to plug into the Phantom 2.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work for the Phantom 1, but I'm sure you can kind of put it on the back. The weathering won't match, but
no, but they said though that the Phantom 1, they did keep that in mind, even though it was from a different toy line, is what they said. It does scale properly.
Okay.
With the Ghost and the Phantom 2.
Yeah. It's really nice to see all the enthusiasm around it. There's always going to be comments, not to dwell on the negativity. There's always going to be, no matter what you get, people are always going to say, well, why didn't it have more? Why wasn't it less expensive? Why isn't it easier for me personally to get this thing? I don't know, man. This is what they're able to get out at the price point they're able to do with the figures they're able to include. They're never going to do it again. I'm very enthusiastic about it. I'm very excited about it. Seeing the Rebels figures finally in realistic style, and never having seen season 3 and 4 versions of these characters in any format, maybe Lego, I guess, but never an animated figure, never in Black Series. And these versions were the more requested versions in the March Madness, so hopefully a lot of people are happy to see these figures as well. And it's just really exciting to see this doing so well so far.
Yeah, I'm thrilled, man. Those figures, again, I always put the figures first for myself, like how I collect and what I enjoy about collecting. But this vehicle is absolutely incredible, and having the figures be part of it was really huge for me. Like that's what I love to see. Those are the most exciting things for me. Like with these HasLabs, when all the tiers and the stuff is just figures, like, yep, that was sign me up, man. I'm in. Figures that we don't have, like, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Not just repacks of Gamorrean guards and Salacious Crumbs on different cards and a Luke that we knew you were going to make anyway. Yeah. Anyway, been there, done that.
Yep.
It's nice to see a win for Star Wars HasLab again.
Yeah, man. Again, it's successful. Vintage Collection is 3 for 3 on backed HasLab. So now the game is, well, how far can we go? Can we unlock it all? Can we complete the crew? You know, bring home Bridger. What was it? Clamor for Kanan. Zoom for Zeb. We'll do all this cool stuff. Like we'll get those, and then again, sounds like if this is successful, they know, man. Like what we've done podcast episodes about, and John stuff that you've done on our Instagram page, how they support these HasLabs moving forward, and it sounds like they're ready. They're ready to support this if it's really as successful as we hope it can be. So
yeah, and you know, obviously $500 is a lot of money.
It is.
But yeah, it's nice to see people, you know, putting their money where their mouths are.
Yep.
You know, it's one thing to say I want Kanan and Ezra and Zeb and Hera and the Ghost and everything, but to actually, okay, here's your chance. So it's nice to see that people are, you know, showing up for it.
Oh man. Well, speaking of showing up for it, people showed up for a movie back in 1983, and it was called Return of the Jedi.
Oh my God, I love it.
Someday I'll get these transitions down. Just to continue the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary mini beat again, I've said multiple times that I am going to be sharing these responses that we got on a prompt we put up back in May for the show, and I will be doing this on every live stream. I didn't do it during the last live stream, and I apologize, but try to get this and all the stuff that we do this year just to continue celebrating that awesome milestone for an incredible film, much beloved and well represented in the Vintage Collection. This one is from GA 1984 GA. So Ga 1984 Ga. Me and my brother used to put on the VHS of Return of the Jedi in the background while we recreated the film with our action figures. The vintage Kenner line was quite sufficient for this, although having the barge back in 1984 would have helped. Great memories of a time when we were without a care in the world. Oh. Sorry, I just wanted to share that one because it's slightly tied into the HasLab theme.
Yes, yes.
Those dream items, you know?
Yeah.
And the Ghost is a dream item, so.
Do we want to check in on how many have backed since we started the pod?
Let's do it, man. Let's circle back. You got that all refreshed? It's easier for you.
Oh, they've gotten 35 more backers in the last.
I don't want to think about how long we've been doing it, but yeah.
Hour and a half. Not bad, not bad. Yeah. So 8,375. 375 for life, baby.
Woo! Yes, seriously, this community has really shown up for this HasLab. It's awesome to see folks really kind of rallying around this. We've got, you know, the Titans of TVC, the big pages. They're all doing their part to at least garner interest and share stuff. I know Forlam Dazakis is are they the ones that is doing the tracking spreadsheet?
I think so, yeah.
Of the day. That's awesome work. It's really cool to see that. You know, gratitude out there just to the camaraderie and the community that we all are in together as we rally around this and get the Ghost.
Yeah. Not just the big pages, but all the smaller pages. Everybody just kind of showing enthusiasm, getting the word out.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to downplay any of that.
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, it's nice to see everybody's contributing something a little different, stats and artwork and all kinds of different fun things. So
yeah, really creative stuff. And, you know, I'm sure the memes are going to start ramping up as we get further into this. And can't wait.
Yeah, some of the best parts about these campaigns.
Yeah, my girlfriend was just like, why? She's like, you seem distant. And I was like, well, do you follow me on Instagram? She's like, no. And I was like, well, okay. So
I got stuff going on. All right.
Yeah, I got some important things. You want to go on that trip? I can't. I'm now officially on the hook for $2,000 on September 6th.
I got to refresh this website for 42 more days over and over again.
Oh man, I feel like at some point I'm going to turn in like the American Psycho. Instead of I need to return some videotapes, I need to return some action figures. All right. Well, hey, John, we've been chatting for a while. Listeners out there, thank you so much for hanging in there as we just kind of ran through all this stuff. John, great work on putting together an outline. Needless to say, I just have been burning the candle at both ends. So it's nice to let you, as always, do the work on this and then for me to take the credit. It's wonderful, wonderful stuff. So yeah.
You get to edit it. So yeah. I don't envy you on that one.
You're going to listen to this and be like, he did not cut out a thing. Why is this 4 hours long?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. One day I'll release the unabridged version of the hashtags at the end where I just read all 4,000 of them that have been floated throughout our time doing SWTVC stuff.
Yes, and just be lucky that I didn't do a full comparison of all the Rebels characters' outfits yet.
Yeah, yet. Stay tuned.
It's coming. It's coming.
Dive. I imagine we've toyed with the idea of diving into the 5POA animated style line to kind of look at what exists for Rebels in 3 3/4 inch.
Oh, we will. We should.
Yeah. I'm sure people are just clamoring. They're just hurting to get that episode. They need that soon. Maybe we'll release that when... Nope, you know what? I don't want to threaten anyone with a good time for tier unlocks.
Once we get to 17,000,
yeah,
followers.
So, cool. All right, John, any last things you want to throw out there?
Get the ghost.
Cool. All right. Well, everybody, as always, here's the part of the show where I kind of beg and plead and say, hey, if you like the podcast, if you like what we do, if you like me, if you like John, if you hate one of us, but you like the other, or you're just apathetic all about it, but you feel like you got some time to kill, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast. It does really help us out as we grow and we can further spread the good word of TVC to the corners of the earth. There's a handy little link in our Instagram bio at SWTVC, just in case you've forgotten. And tell all your friends, not just about the podcast, but about at SWTVC, about the HasLab, all that fun stuff. So make sure you're following us over on Instagram. As we've mentioned at several points during this show, John will be putting together some pretty informative and fun little deep dives of things that you might otherwise not have ever thought about for any reason whatsoever, but will become the focus of your life for the next 45 days.
That's the goal. Right. That's always my goal. Yeah.
All righty, gang. Well, that does it for another episode of the SWTVC podcast. As always, back TVC, balance the scales, Hasbro, finish the 96, keep 375 alive, bring home Bridger, get the ghost, and may the Force be with you.